Hey everyone, Brian here from Vintage Classic Specialist. Happy Wednesday, everyone. It is time for another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So, kind of a big day, I guess, today for the 54 right-hand drive barn door. We did a photo shoot, and no, it was not for Hot VWs. It was for a European magazine who, I don't know why, but I feel like it should remain nameless right now. I'll tell you guys more later, maybe when it's closer to coming out. However, we did a photo shoot for that magazine. We do have a photo shoot also scheduled for Hot VWs, and that is in about a week and a half for this car. So, yeah, photo shoot went well today. We did it in and around, or pretty much in. We were never out of the city of Orange. So, yeah, one of the cool things about Orange is, if you're not familiar with this area, is unlike a lot of other areas in Orange County, it has a lot of old buildings and a lot of cool architecture from the 40s and 50s, and it has things that are kind of ratty looking in a way and make really cool backdrops actually for photos. Something that you probably wouldn't see in, say, Irvine or, anywhere in central or I guess south Orange County. So yeah, we found some very cool spots. We shot in 3 or 4 spots total and took a crap ton of pictures. And so, you guys will, other than the one that I showed, which I of course took with my cell phone for the thumbnail, you'll just have to kind of wait and see when the magazine comes out. Anyway, so that was the first half of my day. We started at 8 after I washed the bus, and we were going till about noon basically. So that was pretty much half my day. So bus did great, fired up every time. We started and stopped the bus, a bajillion times, moving it, sometimes just a few feet, and it never missed a beat. So this thing, we're very happy with this bus, guys. It looks great in the photos from what I saw. And so, like I said, another photo shoot coming up in about a week and a half. I'll talk more about that later. Let's talk about what else happened around here today. So let's start with this guy here, the 74 Beetle that we lovingly call the tennis ball. Rafa finished up some details up here in the front, a little bit of wiring. He just ended up kind of playing with the fuel sender, and he got it to work and read correctly. And guys, parts these days, I feel like recently, and maybe it's just bad luck, we've just been getting a lot of bad parts. So he had to go and kind of tweak on the sender itself to get it to, read correctly, essentially. So now the tank is empty, and when you turn on the key, it goes to pretty much empty. And so the next big test for the fuel sender will be to put, say 5 gallons in it, which is about half a tank, and hope that the gauge reads somewhere in the middle. Should hopefully be reading close to half. So we'll see. Probably put gas in this car. If not by the end of this week, then probably first thing next week, because it's, guys, about time to fire this thing up and take her for a spin. Anyway, so yeah, Rafa kind of finished with that, and that allowed him to put in the trunk liner and kind of button this all up. Still need to order a spare tire for it. So tire sizes have changed. I think I've talked about this before. Even a tire made now that's labeled the same size as a tire made, say in 1974, they're not really always the exact same size. So what I want to do is I want to just pull off one of the wheels that's on the car now with the tire on it, of course, and just test fit it into the spare tire well, make sure it fits, and then I'll go ahead and order the 5th one. There, the rim is right there. It's ready to go. So on some cars, particularly on Carmagias, we end up having to put in a slightly smaller sized tire for the spare, because literally the trunk won't close if you put in the same size that is correct for the the actual road wheels on the car. So yeah, I don't want to order one of these tires and then find out that it won't fit. So pretty simple check, pull one off, check it, hopefully it's good, and then I'll order one. But other than that, this is pretty much done up here. Turn signals, everything's working beautifully now. So I think, guys, honestly, this thing, it's basically now just waiting to have some gas put in it and go for a spin. Oh, look at that. Steering wheel's not quite back together yet. But yeah, like I said, minor things on this car, and it will be going for its first road test. So that was the first part of Rafa's day. The second part of his day, I don't really have any show and tell for per se. However, we'll just look at this beautiful car while I'm talking about it, because he started going through some various parts for this car and getting them ready for sandblasting and, for zinc plating, etc. I know I saw that he had the hood latch mechanism and stuff like that, both the part that goes here and the part that catches that goes on the underside of the hood. I saw he had those. Likewise, the same parts for the rear lid. And I think he might have had like striker plates. He just had a bunch of parts for this car that he was preparing for, various zinc plating, powder coating, etc. I think he took the headlights and disassembled those. So those will be ready for powder coating of the buckets, the bulb holders in there. And just kind of turned his attention to this, because this car is starting to go together, kind of like its slightly older sibling here. So yeah, now that the barn door is done, this car is done, working on this one, and this one is basically done. We need to really start focusing attention on these two gears, especially this one. This car, of course, we've had a bit longer than that one. So yeah, we need to get a little bit focused on these around here. They've been kind of a little bit on the back burner because we needed to finish up that barn door for show season and stuff like that. But yeah, we should be pretty Gia focused around here now for a while, and make some big progress on these cars. Look at these cars. Poor things don't even have their doors on them. So yeah, getting back to these guys in a big way here soon. So anyway, Rafa worked on a bunch of parts for that car. Mr. Jacob was in today, and he actually worked on his own car for a while. He put in an electronic ignition module and got his timing all set and stuff like that. He did that while I was out on the photo shoot for this guy, because I hadn't really had a chance to find something for him to do. So he took the opportunity to use our bitchin' shop to work on his own car, which is cool. But anyway, after that, and again, I don't have any show and tell, but he kind of started doing some similar things that Rafa did on that car for the 67 now Java Green Beetle. So he took the heater controls and stuff, which I don't remember if these are together or not. Yeah, these are together. So he took these heater control pieces and this little part of the e-brake, and he took some of that stuff, prepared it for zinc plating, some other random parts that he cleaned, sandblasted, etc. And kind of like on that one, the headlight assemblies, he went ahead and pulled those apart and sandblasted them. So those are ready for powder coating. So yeah, he worked a couple hours on stuff like that for the Java Green 67 Beetle, getting those things ready for their various treatments. So that was pretty much his day. So my day, like I said, I didn't start really working until, after lunch, really, and then kind of busy with different things. But I did manage to work on this guy some, and kind of continuing on, I'll talk about that in a minute, kind of continue working on the air conditioning and just really mocking things up, test fitting things, stuff like that. And as you can see, it looks like there's a bunch of big black snakes behind the dash. So kind of test fitted and routed, check the routing on all of the hoses. So again, the way this air conditioner system works is you tie into the two outer vents. So one there and one there. And then I actually installed these two vents today. So those are kind of the two center ones that go on either side of the e-brake handle, which on these goes here and pulls out this way. So yeah, I got those in. I actually had to move this a little bit because there wasn't quite enough room in here for this. The instructions, guys, I have to say, for this system are not great. And but they're working on them. They're working on revising them. So good on them on Gilmore Enterprises. But one thing that kind of tripped me up was when they talk about mounting this, they just say, make sure that you have enough room here where obviously it's not hitting this e-brake handle, like room between all this junk and that. They say, give yourself a couple inches. So I did that when I mounted this and was very pleased with myself. And then I went to mount this and there was no room in here because this was too far that way. And so, yeah, I had to drill new holes for mounting this further that way to allow room for this in there. So little things like that. I'll probably give him that feedback on his instructions. Like, hey, when you talk about where to place this thing, because it can kind of slide back and forth this way. When you talk about where to place this, you know, don't really do it with respect to the e-brake handle. Tell the person even like install this first and then put this in and maybe like butt it right up against it or something. And then inherently, if you do that, there's plenty of room for the e-brake handle. So yeah, just some little details like that. The other thing I need to talk to him about and see if he can send me a schematic is the wiring is super confusing in the instruction manual. And some of the wires are kind of labeled, but yeah, the instruction manual is a bit of a mess. So good on him for working on those, but maybe he has a revised one I can get. That would be cool because it's pretty clunky to go through the instructions for this. Have to be honest. The parts, everything is super nice, but yeah, the instructions I would say right now are the weak point on the system. So good on him for taking that challenge on. Anyway, so yeah, lots of hoses running all over the place. Again, just kind of for mock-up purposes, trying to figure out where I'm going to route everything. And then I did also finish wiring in the radio, which is right there. So it's now connected to ground, constant 12 volts and key on 12 volts over here. And let's see what else, guys. I also mounted the controller for the air conditioner. So this is your fan speed here and then how cool it is. I don't know if that actually does anything because it's not like there's also a heater. So I honestly don't know what that does. Maybe if you turn it all the way like in the warm direction, maybe it just has to do with like the duty cycle of the compressor, maybe like how often it's kicking the compressor on. I actually don't really know what that does because, you know, like on a water-cooled car, you've got also the heater, and when you move the knob for the temperature, it kind of like mixes heated air in with air-conditioned air, and you can kind of fine-tune the temperature that way. But on a air-cooled car without the same type of heating system, I honestly not totally sure what that does. Probably the duty cycle on the compressor, but I don't know. I'll have to ask them, because otherwise you would just leave it alone and never touch it, because you know, if it doesn't do anything. Anyway, so yeah, that was kind of my afternoon, guys. Just continuing to fit up this stuff here and mount stuff. And okay, so I promised to talk about this. So this is the 1699 cc motor for this guy, the 64 Beetle here. So went ahead and just had brothers. Usually I have them build long blocks, but in this case, and we're super busy and everything, I said, you know what, just build me a complete turnkey motor. And the customer said he didn't really want heater boxes, so that saved him some money there. He said he probably wouldn't really use it. So yeah, 74 millimeter counterweighted stroke, 85.5 millimeter pistons, which are of course stock for a 1600. And yeah, I think they put like a mild cam, like maybe a W90 in it, a little bit of compression, I think single high rev springs. So he said that Brian Roth dynoed it, and he thought it made maybe like 80 horsepower or something like that, 80 horsepower and 108 foot-pounds of torque, something like that. So a little bit less than this one, which is also a 1699. So same thing, 74 by 85.5. However, this one's got dual cadrons on it. It's got a more high performance exhaust, an Arboth exhaust, and we might have put a little bit more compression in it and stuff. But yeah, pretty comparable motors. This one, again, a little bit more performance oriented with the dual carbs, made, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 more horsepower and a few more foot-pounds of torque. But yeah, I'm very excited for this guy, the owner of this. I think this motor is going to be an incredible driver for him and not loud and clunky and unreliable like his 40 horse was that was built elsewhere. So yeah, this is just sitting now while we're waiting for our transmission guy to come back from vacation. He'll take the transmission, make it a freeway flyer, open it up for 12 volts, and then this whole thing will go back together. We'll swap the bulbs, take care of the windshield wiper mechanism, and boom, that'll be it. 12 volt car with a bitchin' little motor and ready for reliable cruising for this guy. Okay, so I believe that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you again tomorrow. Bye.